Long ago, in days of yore, when Littlefoot and Petrie were writing their sick diss tracks on Ducky, young songwriters had to carry with them two objects. The first, tall and wide, would be used as a base for these songwriters. The second, slender, sleek, and sharp, would tear into the flesh of the first and bleed onto it. The song. Well, howdy everyone, welcome to the Songwriting Series. Now in this series, I'm going to show you some of the tips and tricks I've learned in my time as a songwriter. So go ahead and feel free to look around my account. Aside from a couple of covers, a couple of mashups, everything else that I've put up there is something that I wrote myself. So see if there's anything you like, and never be shy about commenting or liking or subscribing or sharing with your friends, sharing with your family, sharing with people you don't like. It doesn't really matter, because the first lesson in songwriting is you're never above a shameless plug. Okay. So what I'm going to do in this initial episode of the Songwriting Series is really just focus on the basics. Throughout this series, I do want to hit on things like structure, like aesthetics, like style, things like theory, even get into something like how to write a cover song. But before you can really dive in too deep, you need to know the basics. And for me, the basics are encapsulated in these 5 points. Now today, we have it so much better than our fathers of rock ever could have imagined. It used to be you'd have to carry around a notebook with a pen. I've heard stories about writing things on receipts, writing things on napkins. Apparently even the whipping post by the Allman Brothers was written on an ironing board. Now the first thing you should probably look into getting, and it's something I have, is an audio recording app. Right there you can see it. I have song ideas, I have lyric ideas, I have rhythm. If I have a riff that pops in my head, I can go dun 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 dun, or whatever the case might be. Boom, it's saved there. I don't lose the melody, I don't lose the rhythm, I don't lose the lyrics. Now, the next thing you should really get, and this is something that I really like, it's called the B metronome, but there's tons of metronomes you can get. Pretty much every app I'm talking about is free. Any of them that you like is fine. This one actually has a little grid of the different BPMs you can use, but I like to use this tap function they have here, where if I'm like, okay, the song I'm feeling is going about like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, I know that I'm wanting to do somewhere around 103 BPM, and that makes setting up the song later so much easier. The third app you should probably get, and mine's the Boss Tuner, but some sort of tuner. That way, especially if you don't have an operatic voice, you can sing into it, and it'll tell you what your note is. And that way, if you say, okay, this is my melody that I've come up with, and you go da na da na 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 da, and then you sing it, you know what you're comfortable singing it at. Sing it comfortably in a G, so you don't put it accidentally in an A, which is a little bit higher and something that you can't sing, but oh no, you've already recorded everything in A, so you got to go back and re-record it. It's helpful for something like that. The last piece of tech, so to speak, I would get is I have a whiteboard, but if you just have a nice spreadsheet you can use, anything like that where you can list out the songs you're working on, you can color code it, red, yellow, green, for, green is it's ready to go, yellow is I'm almost ready, anything like that. You have something that's laid out that you can visually see, and actually being able to see a lot of your accomplishments is going to be very important for you going forward. You don't have to be overly proficient at an instrument. You really don't need to know a lot of music theory. Really, the only thing that's really going to be a good benefit going into being a songwriter would if you just happen to be Swedish. But in that case, it's really only going to be a benefit if you're trying to write top 40 type music. Now, if you're a single note instrument player, if you're a vocalist, do some sort of brass, woodwind, something like that, might be a little bit harder for you. I would recommend becoming at least somewhat familiar with a stringed instrument that has multiple strings on it. Most people that start to become songwriters are either going to want to get a piano or a guitar. As you can see behind me, I've got a little bit of both. But being able to play these, you'll be able to hear the rhythms as you're playing them. You'll be able to know what they sound like. And take pretty much every chance you get to play it into one of those recording things like your phone app, something like that, because then you can have that playing back while you play your melody over it, and you'll honestly be able to know if that flat 5 you really want to put in there clashes with the dominant 7th. It's going to be a good thing to be able to hear it in the real world aside from just in your head. Now, as for recording goes, I use Pro Tools. That's just what I have. Reaper is one of the cheaper versions out there. There's Logic, there's Cubase, there's just a ton of what they call digital audio workstations. A lot of people will call them DAWs. That's what I'll be calling them for the most part. It really doesn't matter which one you use. Some of the cheaper ones are completely fine. But you do have to always kind of have that in the back of your mind to beware. You get what you pay for, but also don't just buy Pro Tools because it's the industry standard. You know, Pro Tools is good, but if you don't need Pro Tools, if you're just writing demos, if you're not writing something that you want to put out on YouTube, Spotify, something like that, you may not want to invest that much money into it. Don't do it because everybody's doing it. Don't do it because everybody says you need this gear, this gear, this gear. Really focus on what you're trying to accomplish and get something that's going to help you do that. Conceptualizing can be a little bit tricky. If you haven't done this before, it's hard to think of what to say, what to play, how do I put it all together. The thing I would really look into, if this isn't something you've been doing for a good part of your life, is to just focus on yourself. There was an episode of Home Improvement where Tim was trying to write a book that would speak about and to all men through all time. And he was having trouble writing something because he couldn't stay focused. He was jumping here, jumping there, all that sort of thing. And so he went to his neighbor Wilson and said, hey, what do I do? I'm trying to write this book for everyone. And his neighbor said, Tim, if you try to write something that's going to cover everything, you're going to fail. But if you write about yourself, you're going to write about all men in all time. And it's because no matter what you're going through, you might not be able to relate to a specific person over here, over there, that sort of thing. You might live in New York, you might live in Fargo, you might listen to EDM, you might listen to country. But you're going through similar things. You're going through something that everybody in this world has gone through. And if you're honest with yourself, people are going to be able to tell that, and they're going to be able to relate to it. So you really need to focus on yourself. Once you start having these ideas, you start writing them down, you're going to notice they come faster and faster, almost like a dam burst, and it just floods in. You're going to want to feed off that. You're going to want to take inspiration anywhere you can get it. You may even look at the metaphor I just used, a dam burst, and say, hey, that kind of could apply as a metaphor for something I'm going through in my life. Or never miss an opportunity to take a real-life metaphor, something that you see on the bus, something that you see at work, something that you hear somebody say, and write a song about that. Don't worry if somebody's already written a song about that topic before. If you look at Thinking Out Loud by Ed Sheeran, it's the same song as Forever and Ever Amen by Randy Travis. But they're just written in different genres from slightly different perspectives. And because they didn't worry about, well, this topic's already been covered before, so I can't really do it, now we have two great songs. What they did is they wrote songs that fit their audience. You need to know who you're writing for. Are you trying to do top 40 songs? Are you trying to be genre specific? Are you writing for a young audience, young adults, men, women? You also have to be honest with yourself. Do you want to be a singer? Do you want to be in a band? Do you want to be a singer-songwriter? Because the types of marketing you're going to need to do and the types of songs you're going to need to write are going to be dependent on your answers to those questions. If you're trying to write a song for an established singer, you're not necessarily going to need to constrain yourself to your own personal vocal limitations because they're probably going to be better than yours. But if you're writing something that you want to sing, if you're writing songs for yourself, you need to write something that you're going to be comfortable singing every night for the rest of your life. But if you write a hit song, you can never not play that song for the rest of your life. It's stuck with you. So you just really need to look at what your goals are, who your audience is going to be, and just be honest with yourself about what you want to do. So those are some of the basic fundamentals to have before beginning a songwriting journey. Now next week I'll begin looking at the structures of songwriting, so make sure to join in. And as always, follow the music and own the show. B-Row out. Woo!